So welcome back to another episode of Finding Love. And so recently I had a conversation, like so many conversations at the barbershop, but it wasn't a typical barbershop talk. This one got a little deep, and it kind of started with, am I a good father? Ooh. So when we get back, let's dive into that, and let's dive into fatherhood and so much more. So before we dive into it, I want to start off with some statistics, some jaw-dropping statistics that kind of took my breath away. And when I kind of shared some with my wife, I think it took some of yours away too.
Absolutely.
So let's just dive into it. Let's go to the stats first. 63% of youth suicides are from fatherless homes, 5 times the average.
Wow.
90% of all homeless and runaway children are from fatherless homes, 32 times the average. 85% of all children who show behavior disorders come from fatherless homes, 20 times the average. 71% of all high school dropouts come from fatherless homes, 9 times the average. And with me having a baby girl after my 2 baby boys, this one really stuck out to me. So all of you girl dads, absolutely hear this one. Daughters of single parents without a father involved are 53% more likely to marry as a teenager, 711% more likely to have children as a teenager, and 164% more likely to have a premarital birth, and 92% more likely to get divorced themselves.
Yikes.
Some of those numbers for you.
Like what?
Yeah.
Okay. So I had to look at the flip side though. I really wanted to focus on the impact that children with fathers has. So I found a couple stats that way. Children with fathers who are involved are 40% less likely to repeat a grade in school. Academics are key over here, so I thought that was huge. Children with fathers who are involved are 70% less likely to drop out of school. Children with fathers who are involved are more likely to get A's in school. Children with fathers who are involved are more likely to enjoy school and engage in extracurricular activities. And children in father-absent homes are almost 4 times more likely to be poor. So, basically, I wish we would have did this on Mother's Day too, right? Like to look at the impact of mothers, because sometimes we overlook that, that deadbeat mom thing. But
we can still put that together.
Well, that might be something we got to go into.
Yeah.
But if you have ever thought about your impact as a father, as someone that just shows up, someone that answers the call, someone who sends a couple of dollars, because it can be emotional, financial, it can be so many levels of support. If you've ever doubted the impact that you're going to have on the lives of those children, these stats say it all.
Yeah.
We got to get into this story. This story, it blew my mind. I knew, we hear the stories, ladies, about barbershop talk, but baby, it got deep.
Yeah, it did. And so, of course it starts like, any other barbershop even. You go in, all the guys in there, they're kicking, they're laughing. And then typically when it's Friday, everybody are planning for the weekend.
Yeah.
But this was a little bit different. I sit down in the barber chair, and my barber kind of starts with just asking me, how's my relationship, with my father, right?
Okay.
didn't think anything of it. So I just say, man, I think my dad did the best he could, and he was the perfect father for me. And, we just kind of talk on it a little bit, right? And so I just think that's kind of just some surface level stuff. But then he digs a little bit deeper because, of course, whoever cuts my hair cuts my son's hairs. And so he says, man, you and Cam seem like you guys have a really solid relationship. Do you think you do? So now I'm thinking, and then he said, okay, this is how you feel about the relationship. How do you think Cam feels? So he's digging down deep. Ooh. And I said, okay, man, well, why do you ask?
Yeah, right? Yeah.
He says, Stephen, I just really want to know if I'm a good dad. Right? And to me, that changed the tone of any other barbershop conversation I ever had. Yeah. And so I know what his concern was, because this brother is a very hardworking. He owns the barbershop, full barbershop. I can tell he feeds into his staff, and he's a positive dude. This guy, he plays music, all different types of music, clean versions, and he's a family man. He is a family man, but he works a lot. A lot of days he works 9 to 9. And so his main concern is all that time that he spends away from his family, is that going to impact on how they feel about him? And this is what I had to share with him. And this is how I feel in my heart. And I had to tell him something I truly believe. And I will share with any father, or really any parent for that matter. It's not the time that you spend around your kids or even under the same roof as your kids. Yeah. It's the quality time that you engage with and spend directly with them. Yeah. Those are the times they'll never forget. Those will be their memories.
Man, I have to agree with that so much, because we have even seen, the grandparents come in and take our kids to the park, and maybe they go to Target and get a toy, and we done gave her all every day, all day, 24/7. And they do that one day, and it means the world to them, right? They talk about it for weeks, for months. They say, can we do what we did with grandma?
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes to what you just said. Now, I also wholeheartedly believe that it is a case-by-case basis.
Yes.
Okay? I was not the kid that needed you in my face. You didn't have to be right here. I didn't need you watching me. I didn't need you even to be like, oh, you're so pretty and you're so smart. I didn't need that. I really yearned for someone to support me in a way that pushed me.
Yeah.
Encouraged me rather than just praised me. And so while my parents were there, I saw them all the time. They told me, they were proud of me, and, oh, you're so smart, you're so this. I still yearned for something that I never was able to receive, right? And it wasn't because they didn't want to give it to me.
Right.
They just didn't know that they had to give it to me, and we never communicated that to each other.
Yeah.
And I think that as parents, we feel like we have to have all of the answers, when a lot of times it might be asking the question.
Yeah, I think that's real good, babe, because the reality is most of the time there are no answers.
Not
right?
one.
They say it's no rule book, and that is 100% true. Yeah. So we have to just kind of, we go with how we were raised, right?
Yes.
And I think that also kind of goes into something that we also talked about and we developed, right?
Yeah.
It is the parenting equation.
Yeah.
So the parenting equation is your quality time plus your teachings and plus your support, both emotional and financial. And that is how your child will value your parenting. And so I think with those key pieces, that is so important, right? Because it's not the time that you spend, right? If we break it down even further, it's the quality time. It's those moments, those memories, the time that you engage with your child, the things that they can recall, right? And then it's your teachings, right? Because when you have these teachings, even though when they are 10, 12, 15, 17, 18, and they just seem like they are not getting it, right? They are just never going to do it. But when you just keep giving your reps, you keep feeding into them, that's when later on, maybe they have a learned lesson, right? Not a loss, a learned lesson where they just say, you know what? They hear mom's voice, they hear dad's voice, and that's those teachings.
The only thing is, you got to have time to have quality time.
Absolutely.
And your barber working 9 to 9, I'm assuming that's 5-6 days a week.
Right.
Depending on the age of his kid, that's the whole entire day.
Yeah.
Our kids aren't waking up too much earlier than 9, and they're definitely not awake after 9.
Yeah.
So he would miss every bit of their lives at this age, right? Now, after 9 is me and Cam's kicking time.
Yep.
So we have a lot of value in that space after the little ones go down.
Right.
But you can't misconstrue
Yeah.
the effect and emphasis that time does have.
Yeah.
Which is why I even, teach business owners how to have more time freedom. And it is why I went from working 12, 15 hours to creating these processes so that I could work less than 8, right? Yeah. And as a mother, and with me working with so many other women, we're constantly trying to be involved with every aspect of our children's lives.
Right.
We want to show up to every basketball, football, soccer game. We want to bake cookies and make lunches and be on PTA boards. And we want to do all the things, even when we are already overworked, overwhelmed, and tired. Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't get a chance to be like, I hope that they understand when they get older.
Yeah.
And I believe in my entire being that is not a mother thing, that is a parent thing.
Yeah.
And so often we get that kind of blurred lines where, that's just the mom. The mom's supposed to do it all. The mom wears all the hats. When, baby, you put on a lot of hats too.
Right.
And that is why I feel so confident in saying that I know that you're a good dad. Yeah. And I know that you also nice and softy, McSofterston. So you could tell your barber, like, dude, you got to show up. But, dude, you got to show up. Like, your child can only take so much. What is it? What is the takeaway? The love and support and the cherished moments out of so many little things.
Yes.
So if you show up to one big thing a year, yes, it may be very impactful in the long run, and it may be extremely impactful for the next month or two.
Yeah.
But what's next?
Now, you're right. I am nice, but guess what your husband always going to try to do? I'm going to try to find the silver lining or be solution oriented, because that's what I am, right?
Yes.
So understanding that he works often like that. Yeah. Specific to him, customizing to him, I also told him I think it's extremely important to show your kids where you are. So, I do know that he picks up his son sometimes, and his son comes to that barbershop. Yeah. So he sees where his dad is, right?
Absolutely.
He'll have the memory of being in the barbershop with his. I remember being at the office with my dad late night, right? Because he was working all the time. Yeah. Did I want more time with my dad? Yes, I did want more time, but I did have that memory to fall back on. But the other thing that he has to do is he doesn't really have time off. So when he's off from work, you're on as dad, right?
Absolutely.
You're not just watching TV and chilling. And so one thing I think he does a really good job with that too, because he kind of, he grills every Saturday. He's got a pool in his backyard, and he tells his kids to come out there with him, right? And so, yes, if you have 9 to 9 days, then guess what? You got to make up for it, right? Absolutely. And you got to be intentional on making up for it, right? Yes. Because some people don't have the luxury, especially if they're maybe the sole provider in the house, right? Yes. That means you got to work twice as hard, right? Yeah. To make what you need to make for your entire family, right? Whether it's for your husband, your wife, you are the sole provider, but that also means that you cannot slack on being a dad or a mom when it comes to that quality time. Absolutely. Because like you said, the time is extremely limited. The time, But so,
that's really good, because it got me thinking about what I said initially. You have to communicate with your children. This is a relationship still. Yeah. It's a hierarchy. just in case my kids watching this, right? Like, it's a hierarchy, but it is a relationship. So if your child is asking you over and over and over and over to be there for an event that you typically would be working during, that's your opportunity to say, you know what? I know you know that I'm working. You know I run a business. You know I have people that's looking out for me. But I am going to make adjustments this one time so that I can be there in full support of you this time. You know, and you know what's most important to your kids. Like, Cass want me to be everywhere all the time. But if I miss one, he doesn't think about it anymore. He's like, did you come to my game the other day? You know, it's very absent-minded. However, if it is something,
I don't know if you missed one though.
I think I missed one.
All right, well,
one.
I think it's harder to forget the missed one than just the made one. Okay,
that's true. But you know, if they are asking you and they're putting it on you, and they've told you a month in advance, and they've reminded you 2 weeks in advance, and they told you everybody else that's going to be there and what the accolade that they're going to receive at this event, that's your opportunity.
You can't miss special occasions. And being a activity and sports family, you can find activities and sports on whatever day you want to find it on, okay?
Yes.
So if you are a barber and your money-making day is Saturday, because I know it is, guess what? You don't have to have your kid in sports on Saturday.
No.
Right?
Yes.
There are sports on Tuesdays, Thursdays. Trust me, we know. Right now, Cass is about to start soccer on Tuesdays. Penny has soccer on Thursdays, right? And we do weekend sports as well because that's what works for our family so that we could be in full support. And we say full support, it is us, it is, all siblings on deck. There are grandparents, everybody is there in full support. But if I want to go back into looking at kind of the parenting equation of quality time plus your teachings plus your support kind of equals the experience, right? I'm going to go back, kind of, especially with, my dad and mom. And that's something that, I truly cherish is because, especially with my dad, I did have quality time with him. But as you also said, there was limited time. But I remember my dad being my baseball coach, right? I can always hold on to that. I remember my dad playing catch with me, right? And I always saw my dad as a hero. So a hero spending time with me was always quality. And his teachings, my father taught me that you're a hindrance, his family's first. He taught me about loyalty. He taught me about, having your word be a bond, be a man, be a strong protector, right? And you have to be the one to do it. You don't rely on anybody else, but you can count on your family. And that's something that I think we also kind of, kind of passed down to our kids and anybody and our friends. So I think when I look at that, you have to be everything that you gained from your parents. But you also have to be everything you missed, because one thing that I felt as though I did miss was the emotional support with my dad. And I think he also comes from a generation where emotions were a sign of weakness, right? And so trying to feed into me and check in on my feelings was probably not something that was ingrained in him, and maybe that he wanted to stay away from. But that is something that I also feel as though I missed out on. So I think that sometimes you have to reflect on being everything that you gained from your parents, but also be what you missed.
So on the flip side of that, you holding on to the memories of childhood, I feel a lot of my healing process was giving my parents credit for them being who they were. Right? Giving them credit for the capacity that they had in their upbringing and in their support systems and in a part of healing from anything I thought that I might have needed as a child, I've been able to focus more on who they are to me as an adult. Right? So, I don't have to continuously forgive or forget about my childhood when I am focused on the now. So now I can see, them as grandparents. I can see them as supporters of the endeavors that I'm in. I can see them as friends.
Yeah.
Right? We have those friendship conversations.
Yeah, for sure.
And so in knowing that, it is never too late to be good.
That's good.
Never.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this and you're like, dang, I wish I had played catch with Lil Man, and Lil Man is 30, it's not too late to jump in and get in where you fit in.
Yeah.
And that is something that has been so extremely positive to me because there are days where I just felt like I failed.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I didn't do that right.
Yeah.
There was a time today, this summer break, where I had all these kids and I was like, I probably should just whoop them all and then make them go to sleep. Because that's what I would have got done to me in the back of the day. Like, because I was just so overwhelmed. I'm trying to work. Wow. Everybody need a different snack every 30 minutes. I got activities. They don't want to do that activity. They want to do this activity.
Yeah.
I was stressed, okay? And in that moment, I was like, okay, what would have happened to me as a child, right?
Reflection.
What do I want them to remember about this experience of summer break with auntie and mommy?
Yeah.
And I was able to regroup. But in that downtime, because it was some downtime, I was just kind of looking at them like, everybody sit down.
Yeah.
It really made me hone in on that. Every single day I get a chance to be better.
Yeah.
I get a chance to regroup. I get a chance to show up for them in the ways that I think that they need and in the ways that they tell me they need. Okay? So I'm listening, I'm communicating, as even with my little ones.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think is very important for fathers and parents everywhere, is to know it's never too late to be good.
Yeah.
You are also only as good as the season that you're in.
That's true.
You weren't really the bathing little babies,
No.
waking up every 2 hours in the middle of the night changing diapers person. However, I feel 100% comfortable with him having 10 kids that are at the ages that our kids are now, because he got this. He do it all, from the hair to the baths to whatever.
Yeah.
But in that very early stage, what if they were judging you on how many times did daddy come pick me up in the middle of the night?
Yeah, no.
2? Oh, he failed, So you're only as good as who you are in that season. And that season is continuously changing. None of our kids are going to be like, but when I was 5, he was at every baseball game. He was my baseball coach.
Yeah.
They don't really do that anymore.
Right, right.
These kids are like, well, last week I asked him to drive the car. He said no.
Yeah.
Oh, he asked me for what? What's that? What kind of child he want?
A Cuban link.
Oh, he wants a Cuban link.
Yeah.
Said, get a wife.
Yeah.
And am I failing because of that moment? No, because I'm going to show up for all of my kids in so many different ways, over and over and over, and above and beyond every single season. So parenting in totality is taking what you've experienced and coupling it with what your child needs, because it's a personalized formula for every single child individually. And that's very, very important.
And I think that's important because it's taking your childhood on what you gained and also on what you missed out on, right? And it's putting those two together and then having that other customization piece for your child. Because I think that's something I learned with you. Because, as a parent, you just kind of assume that you're going to have this mini me with the same interests and the same wants, and they just are going to just sit on the couch next to you and watch what you like, play the sports you played. And we have learned that that's not always the case, right? And so that's why it's so important to be intentional about focusing on what your child needs, focusing on their interests, right? And taking interest in their interests, even if you have no interest.
Because they do it for us. Our kids will try to be interested in the things that we're listening to or watching or talking about just to be involved. And we have to reciprocate that. So if our kid, I remember back when Cam was writing and stuff, and I was like, maybe he's going to be in the arts. And he's like, what? No.
We playing sports.
And I'm like, but can you play sports and be in arts or what? You know?
You help me see it.
But taking an interest in what he liked and introducing him to the world of sports so that he can gain some of the things that we think that you develop in sports, competitive nature, you know, camaraderie, discipline. But we put them together.
Yeah.
And I think that it turned out for the best for all of us.
And that brings us to another piece, which is the role of the other parent and really valuing the other parent. You know, you helped me even when Cam was getting into his books and I was just trying to push sports. But having that other parent that can be the soft voice or the other supportive voice so that when you're away or you and your kid are having a conflict, the other parent is supporting you.
Yeah.
The other parent is explaining why you are doing the things you are doing, right?
Oh, yeah.
And being able to value that parent and have that other parent be supportive and your child see that support, right? That's another piece that I truly value here. But in this new age, you have to have that value, and hopefully everybody can have that value, whether you are married, whether you are co-parenting, or whether you are divorced.
Yeah. I've seen it a couple different ways. I had learned things after my parents split that I would have never known because my mom never discussed that with us as children, right? She never was like crying herself to sleep, even though it was some stuff she could have definitely cried herself to sleep on.
Right.
She wasn't just all down in the dumps, like, you go do it yourself. I can't be there for you because she's so depressed, even though she was.
Yeah.
Right? So I saw the strength of this superhuman, and then I had to be the backbone of the co-parenting situation between you and baby mama, right?
Yeah.
Where Cam is confused that she's saying this, you saying that, and to no benefit to me, which I think is the biggest piece of parenting in a nutshell. No benefit to me. I'm explaining why you guys had your perspectives, what good he was supposed to see from your perspectives, and how he could digest them and have his own perspective based on what you guys had just poured into him.
Right.
Where I could have been like, you know what, just listen to me.
You
know, or don't listen to her because I'm with him. I didn't do that because it is always, and it should always be about the child.
Yeah.
You shouldn't want to win. You know, this is a funny just side note and a little bit of a tangent, but the other day you go work out and he typically puts Penny down and I take care of Cass.
Yeah.
And Penny says, I want daddy. And I said, well, he's not here, baby. Mommy's going to lay with you. This little 2-year-old went into the corner and cried like I was Chucky or somebody. And I want my daddy.
That's my baby.
And in that moment, I wanted to be like, I do everything for you. Them clothes you got, your hair is combed, your food is made, you know. But I was like, I know, baby, I want daddy too. And daddy wants you so much. You know, he just wanted to work out. But he told me to read you 2 books instead of 1, you know. And even in those moments, I'm consistently just making sure that my child comes first.
Yeah.
And it can't be about no beef with the dad or no animosity towards how you're feeling personally during a situation. And I'm talking about this with my husband because that could have still been a little beef. Like, wait, girl.
Yeah.
I gave you life and you crying for your daddy? What is this about? But in everything, it is so important that you deal with your stuff as a parent on your own.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, and I have to say this, I did think that my mom was superhuman, right?
Yeah.
So when it came to being vulnerable and expressing myself emotionally, I was a wall. You know, and I thought that's how you were supposed to be. So I believe in letting your kids see that you are a real human and things affect you, but I do not believe in them carrying your stuff.
Yeah, and one thing that you kind of spoke to being a bonus mom, and I think that's where a lot of people miss on is that they believe a bonus parent is a hands-off position, or a hands-off parenting position. And I learned so much from watching you with Cam that a bonus parent is exactly that. A bonus parent is a bonus. It is a bonus to everybody in the family. And being able to see how that when me and Cam's mom are not getting along, guess who feels that the most? Your child feels that the most. And guess who came to Cam's aid the most? It was you. And it was not that me or his mom did not want to come to his aid.
Right.
It's a trusting position, because if he feels as though he's in the middle of something, it's going to be very difficult and challenging to try to pick a side, because you love your mom and you love your dad. So guess what that bonus parent is? That is a safe space. And that's what you were so many times for Cam. You were a safe space that still allowed him to sometimes get things off. You know, what I've also learned is a bonus parent can be very therapeutic, right? And also, a lot of the times, and I don't think a parent truly understands this, that the bonus parent can get the child into a place to go back into a more refreshed environment, more refreshed and a refreshed relationship with their mom and with their dad. And so, you know, I've learned that, right? A bonus parent is not a standby individual. It is someone who can ultimately save the day and save the relationship from the biological mother and the biological father. And I have to say biological because a bonus parent is absolutely just as much as of a parent as a mom and a dad, especially when they exercise it the way I've seen you exercise it.
Well, yes, you know.
But that also got me thinking about a recent conversation we had on the back deck, because it was 3 couples, each with a bonus parent, right? And the conversation started, a conversation that was several hours, and that was circling back to what this whole podcast started with: am I a good dad? But we actually made it, how do you know if you are a good parent? And my firm belief is that you are not the judge and the jury if you are a good parent. Everybody wants to say, oh man, I'm a good mom, I've done this. I'm a good dad, I've done this, 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 and this. Or they try to tell their kids why they're a good parent. I did this for you, I did this for you. Guess what? You cannot say if you are a good parent. Your child has to determine if you are a good parent. And you won't probably know it until they're an adult. And the reflection that they have, and they will have a lot of experiences growing up. Some wins, some learned lessons, some heartbreaks. But when they get old enough, they will be the test of if you were a good parent. Not you, right? Just like I can't say, you know, if I'm a good husband, you have to be my judge and jury.
So I like to say this, that your value is not based on performance. Right? And a lot of times we equate being a good parent to what we've done for them. Right? You know, I pay for them to go to a private school, and I'm at every track meet, and okay, you know, you get a gold star in performance, but everything else is where your intrinsic value comes from. But I would like to say that I know you've been a good parent because you've made me a better parent. And this is prior to me birthing my own children. I felt way more equipped, right? I've always been nurturing. I've always been giving. I've always been fun, auntie, you know. I have the coins to sustain my value on a financial level with all of my babies, nephews, siblings, everything, right? But you being you challenged me to want more understanding, to want to gain more perspective, and to want to change what I always thought my parenting style would be. And there were moments where, and I'll just give you a little one, but you know, Cam would say, but why? You know, like
A lot.
it's bedtime,
Yeah.
but why?
Yeah.
And you didn't say because I said so. Dog, I already told you this before. You know, you didn't go there. You would say why.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a reason for everything.
Yeah.
And he would either say, oh, okay. You know, because he'd be like, that was a good reason.
Yeah.
Or he have a follow-up question. I'm already stuck on the but why. Like, what you mean? You know, by the follow-up question, I'm like, oh, he about to get it. You know, like, check, get him.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta be. You know, he's still explaining. But he's explaining not in a way that's like he doesn't have control. He's explaining for him to grasp full understanding of what my parenting is about.
Yeah.
And just in that little moment, I saw life lessons being taught on something as simple as a routine bedtime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the value in that is not going to come from him being like, I had the best dad ever.
Right.
I think it's going to become, it's going to be who we see him become as a human. How we see him show up in society, how he gives back to community, how much of a leader he is, how innovative he is in his career field. We will see those life lessons play out.
Yeah.
I don't care if Cam goes, I had a good dad.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you should either, because I know you gave him everything and anything and above and beyond what I've ever seen out of any dad in life or on TV or anything. So if you're looking for that gold star of approval, you will miss the mark. You know? So keep doing you.
No, and I appreciate you saying that. That's high praise from a wife like you. But I think you don't do it, right? We both agree that you don't do it for the gold star, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, I do believe that your parent, your child is the one that tells somebody what kind of dad you are. It's just like a teacher can say what kind of student you are, or a coach can say what kind of athlete you are. But one thing that you said about those like conversations, and sometimes I remember some of them, but sometimes I don't, but I think that also kind of goes to the part of the equation of parenting, of your teaching, right? One thing that I did there, and I think we do, is we never want to take negotiation skills from our kids.
Never.
And so, you know, as long as, you know, your child is being respectful, and you feel them like navigating through a negotiating tactic, then we can dig into it and we can have those conversations, right? Now, there's a fine line between just being pestering, but if we're having a conversation where we see some type of skill set, then we got to nurture that, right? We can't shut that down like the old school parenting of because I said so.
No. And he wasn't whining. He wasn't like, he was like, why, Dad?
No.
He was like, but why? I don't have school tomorrow.
Right? Yeah.
But why? It's a weekend.
Yeah.
I should be able to stay up a little later. And that's when the negotiation and everything came into play. And so going back to why I say it's not up to that child to give you that gold star is because we had a couple different friend groups that have a bonus child or a child where they are at complete ops with the other parent, right? And like arch nemesis, right?
Yes.
And the other parent has utilized the system to keep that child away from them. In both instances, I know these men have tried. They've sent money. They've gone to court. They've been through mediations and all of that stuff. Both of the children live out of state, so it's not it can't be like a 1 week on, 1 week off type of thing. And now both of those children are getting a little bit up in age where they are deciding. They're at an age where they can say, well, I don't want to come with you for the summer, right? Both of them also have young children with their current wives. So for me,
insult to injury.
So for me, this little ragamuffin baby mama who wants to take the child away from a good man, and then this child who said, I don't want to be with you. I don't want that person with my babies in my house. Okay.
Right.
And so there's that, right? But I want them to know when we're talking about quality time and we're talking about, showing up and being there, there is always a way to have receipts.
Yeah.
Don't ever allow yourself not to have receipts.
That's good.
Because they will turn into adults that will say, regurgitate everything that their mother told them, right?
That's right.
Well, mom said you didn't want me, or mom said you had a new family, or mom said you never came to get me on the summers. You want to be able to show receipts. This is the money I sent for you to go to prom. This is the money I sent for the down payment of that car that you got. This is the text message and the court documents. Have it all. Have it all, because there is value in that. There is value in being like, baby, I fought for you. I wanted you. I want you now. I am here for you whenever you are ready. Yeah. Social media is everywhere, sliding that baby DMs.
That's right.
Okay, show up in any capacity and allow time to heal those wounds. Allow your consistency to play a role in how the narrative is shifted. Yeah. And I really want you to know that while the quality time may not be there in person, the effectiveness of you continuously showing up over time will hold some weight. And I believe that, and I pray over that, and I am like believing that wholeheartedly, that these children just need to know that you're there. Now, I won't be able to say that they won't say, well, why you ain't fight harder?
Right.
Because what kid doesn't want both parents in their lives, right?
Yeah.
But what they will be able to see is that whatever mom fed me is not entirely true.
That's right.
And they can at least open up the idea of building a relationship with you as an adult.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what I said in the very beginning. There is a reason and an impact of every single season that you are in as a parent.
Yeah.
Show up every single time.
That's right.
You're going to lose a couple seasons.
That's right.
There's going to be some seasons with me and Penny. I'm like, we on the same cycle and she got to go. But she's going to see me show up repeatedly, and in the capacity that she needs. Yeah. And I believe that as we embark on Father's Day, and really speaking to those statistics about fathers, it is so important for parents to remain diligent and consistent and communicative.
Yeah.
Hear your children.
Yep.
See what they want and give them what they need.
And I think that's important that you said receipts, right? Yeah. But those receipts go deeper sometimes in the support. Oh, yeah. Okay? Because we actually, and I have to give a big shout out to a friend and a father that guess what else he does? And he might not even think of this as a receipt. Every single night with his daughter and his son, he prays with them collectively for his other daughter, which is strange because of the mother, right? Yeah. And so every single night, and guess what that receipt is? When those children, right, the brother and sister, to the sister that they have not been able to have much time with, they'll be able to say, but we pray for you every night with daddy. Yeah. Every night we pray for you. Yeah. And that is a receipt that is not in the bank statements or on the court documents. Yeah. And that's a real receipt that's happening with real good dads. Because I do believe that your child is, your testimony. They are your judge and jury. But the problem is this, and this is what I would say to any parent that is experiencing just the total ops, right? Like your arch rival, somebody that just is so vengeful. Yeah. And I would say, please do not get your effort, your intention, or your ability to want to parent confused with their motivation and determination to be vengeful and to tear you down. Yeah. So what you said about praying for them, it took me back to Cam. I remember, the parenting schedule. Yeah.
Where 1 week on, 1 week off, but for some reason she had like 2 weeks,
Yeah.
right? Like a summer break or a spring break or something, whatever. And so he was gone for almost 2 weeks, and he was like, has Cass and Penny asked about me?
Yeah.
I'm like, we talk about you all the time.
Yeah.
You're their brother,
Right.
you know? And when he said it, I thought it was so trivial. But I thought about it, we talk about our family as a unit.
Yeah.
And it is always inclusive of Cam, regardless if he's here with us,
That's right.
you know, at his mom's house or away at school, right?
Yep.
It's always a unit.
Yeah.
And so
And
it
we
would be
always-
impossible
Yeah.
for them to forget about him
Right.
for whatever distance and time that he left.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the key things that allow him to really come into our orbit, because he was told that we would forget about him.
Yeah.
That we were starting a new family, that, you know,
Yeah.
we would move on and he wouldn't be a part of the equation.
Yeah.
And for us to show him repeatedly that he is the equation. There is no equation without all three of our children.
That's right.
I think that that's something that really kind of gave us that last pull
That's right.
of family and unity and loyalty on our side.
Yeah. Yeah. And the one of the last things I would say also is that you have to fight for your time, right?
Yeah.
And so you cannot leave it in the hands of a bitter, mad, angry parent that is just not being reasonable,
Yes.
right? And so the only way you truly can parent is spend the quality time,
Yeah.
right? Otherwise, you'll have to try to recover that time later on, recover the relationship later on. And part of the reason why we were able to parent in a dynamic that could still be healthy was we were still able to get Cam 50% of the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that right there allowed us to always be on his mind and his heart,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so like you said, we don't make moves without him. We don't do family trips without him. And when our family moves, we move as a unit.
Absolutely.
Right?
So I'm still amazed
Yeah.
that this is what boys we talking about in the barbershop, right?
Yeah.
And it really touched my heart. And as you can see, I got a little misty eyed just thinking about the situations that two of my brothers are in.
Yeah.
But I think that it is just so important for each of us to know that when we had that little fun making them babies, we are increasing our life and our impact on the world drastically through these children.
Yeah.
And if we don't give the world anything else, we know we are trying to give upstanding humans, right? We're trying to give the totality of a great person back to the world. And in doing so, we have to die to self.
Yeah.
We have to, make extreme sacrifices. We have to move our work schedules around and prioritize things differently. We have to make sure that we're communicating with our children and with each other.
Yeah.
And then we also got to have each other's back.
Yeah.
If I say something he don't like or he say something I don't like, we talk about it later.
Yeah.
But in the moment, we give a united front.
Yep.
And then to our child, we give them perspective. Because everything that we're doing at every age of raising these children,
That's right.
from baby all the way to our 40, 50-year-olds,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You are instilling that they have support, unconditional love, and they got something to fall back on.
That's right.
And I just think that parenting can be 0 out of 10 hood, but it is the most rewarding thing that you could be involved in.
And so, if there's anything you can take from this, there is the parenting equation.
Yes.
The quality time, plus your teachings, plus your support, both financial and emotional, equals and is how a child will value your parenting and their relationship with you.
Yeah.
So, with that, I think it's time to toast.
Let's toast.
All right. I kept it close this time.
Thank you.
All right. So, this upcoming Sunday is Father's Day. And so we want to make sure we press the importance of how important fathers are in the house.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And how irreplaceable we are. Because guess what? Your love and support and your presence of being there shapes so much of your children's future. Yeah. And one thing I would say to always lead with, show maximum effort in everything you do with your child. Because ultimately, everything you're feeding into them, you're preparing them for independence in a very challenging world. With the love and support of both their mother and their father, they'll be ready. Yeah. Because we will have them prepared. Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. And happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you so much for tuning in. It has been a journey of love, of understanding, of vulnerability, and we are just so appreciative that you have joined us for another episode of Finding Love.
And we want to invite you into our Finding Love community. And one of the best ways to do that is clicking that subscribe button right down there.
If you want to tune in with us more, kick it with us more, learn more about Finding Love, we definitely want you to follow us on all social media at I Am Finding Love. And I am Jenni L. Hendricks on all social media platforms. Jenni with an I, L. Hendricks with an IX.
Hey, there you go, baby. And mine is Stephen Hendricks, #1. And also, for anybody's listening to us on one of these amazing podcast platforms, please rate, review, comment. We really appreciate you. We gonna